my channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the question: can women playing amateur sports realistically achieve their athletic goals, or are these expectations more suited for professionals? This question was a tough one to think about, but I have my answers and I have my reasons. So, this topic came up when I was talking to a friend of mine about training. I thought about my time in the UK and how training was for me and how the setting was for me and how it was realistic and how now seeing how I don't have access to those things like I did in the professional setting, how unrealistic it may seem to the eye. As you guys may know, as you're seeing my content and videos, I am working and trying to become a full time artist. I have two kids who also have their own extracurricular activities on top of my own extracurricular activities, and also just the typical day to day responsibilities of having a household and all the things that we have to do to survive in this world. But I haven't been in the UK since 2020, and I'm still able to have a rugby career at a certain cost, though. The way that women's sports are set up today is like crazy. The WNBA has been around since 1996 and it's 2024, and they are just now starting to get the recognition they need from the media. Women's rugby, on the other hand, and specifically Union, it started in 1972. And just recently in 2024 Olympics, rugby gained a lot of attention. So I say that to say that with me even just doing rugby league, which started in 2021, boy, do we have ways to go. The median annual wage for athletes was 70K in May of 2023. The lowest 10% earned less than 27,000, and then the highest 10% earned more than 239K. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And as of August of last year, the average hourly pay for professional athletes is $25.88, mind. I just can't believe that that is a thing. But I say this to say a lot, so bear with me. The top highest paid sports for women are tennis, golf, basketball, and soccer. Like rugby isn't even in there. So it's not even in top 10 actually. But I digress. I say and make all these comments to say one, that is crazy, and two, how. This is important because I'm just gonna throw it out there. I used all these facts from Google. Blah, 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 blah. I got all these facts from Google, and the top highest paid sports for women are tennis, golf, basketball, and soccer. Rugby is not even in the top 10. I asked ChatGPT about statistically how many female athletes work a full time job on top of playing a sport. Maybe that was a broad question to ask it, but couldn't give me a straight answer, but instead gave me this answer, and I quote: the exact number of female athletes in the United States who work a full time job on top of playing a sport is difficult to pinpoint, as it varies greatly depending on the level of competition, the specific sport, and available data. However, many female athletes, especially those outside of the top tier professional leagues like the WNBA or certain high profile Olympic sports, often have to work full time or part time jobs in addition to their athletic commitments to support themselves financially. In general, for sports that are not highly commercialized or well funded, such as rugby, soccer, and other less mainstream sports, a significant percentage of female athletes are likely balancing full time work with their athletic careers. In contrast, top tier athletes in highly funded sports might have sponsorships or sufficient earnings from their sport to focus exclusively on their athletic careers. To provide a rough estimate, considering the large number of women involved in competitive sports at a various level, it is plausible that tens of thousands of female athletes in the US are balancing full time jobs with their sports. The exact figure would depend on a combination of factors such as sport popularity, league structure, and available funding. End quote. One thing that is hard to understand in the point of this is the reality of women who are trying to play at the highest level that they can have to work. Trying to find the time to properly train seems damn near impossible, but it's not. Professional female athletes typically have access to, a wide range of resources and training that, amateur athletes might not have. So, like coaching, S&C programs, sports psychologists, um, top tier equipment. Professional athletes typically, they have access to a wide range of resources to where amateur athletes do not. So when we're thinking about things like coaching, S&C programs, sports psychologists, high quality equipment, rehab programs, nutritionists, and salaries, etc. Like all of those things. In reality, we as amateur athletes have to juggle training and competition schedules with work or school commitments, and my like may lack access to these resources. This can make it more challenging to reach like this can make it more challenging to reach our full potential and sustain long-term athletic careers. But how can we work with what we got? So outside of thinking about, the question at hand, is it possible to achieve our goals when we don't have the same things that professional athletes have? And in the beginning, I gave all of those stats to kind of show basically how all the athletes who do have, all of these fancy things, like they have the salaries to, um, adhere and to achieve their goals, we as amateur athletes shouldn't feel discouraged. We just have to work at it a different way. And the way I look at it, depending on the type of athlete you want to be, you have to be able to adapt to those changes in that mental mind state. So, as a person who's at the gym training to lose a few pounds, to me, it's like no different from me needing to train to get ready for a game. You have to show discipline and commitment to your goals. Take time to actually plan and prep for this journey of yours to make, your vision in your mind that you have for yourself and turn that into reality. So, yes, you might not have access to the things a professional athlete has, but you have a body and a mind to build up and become the athlete you want to be. When I was living in the UK, I had to make the transition from being at a high level facility, with all the equipment, the top coaches, and things like that, and then to come back to the States and play for a D2, and then come back to the States and play for a D2 team that didn't have those things that I wish or knew I could acquire. So, dealing with that, I had to really think outside of the box on how I could still achieve the same goals and keep them realistic in my play. And people who are familiar with the rugby world, you kind of like are already going through the motions, especially if you're a person who wants to play at a high level. But working on yourself behind the scenes to make sure that you're strong, that you're fit. These are a few things that I had to do or stop doing to change my mindset. One, I just stopped comparing my past life to my present. So I had to accept where I was in life. The more I kept saying and thinking about the things I did have and the things I didn't have, it just frustrated me and it made me question myself as a player. It made me question my value as a player, needless to say. So, what I did was instead of sulking, I tried to apply my knowledge of what I've learned. So, I try to help and give tips and suggestions to, the coaches and the captains for when they needed or even ask for feedback. Those are things that I had to do. So first I had to switch my mindset and switch my mind, and not think of it in a negative way. I had to start thinking it in a more positive way. Two, one of the biggest things was for me game analysis. And you know, playing in these different tournaments and environments and games, like we don't have like the best film equipment. Or back then we didn't. Now it's getting a lot better, but we didn't have the best film equipment, so it was really hard to do like a game analysis and seeing like the different angles that practices or games were being recorded versus like the what you see on TV. You can't see the whole field, or you can't see how both teams are doing. If you do, it's probably like a 2-second shot. So it was really hard to do analysis like that, but that is how I do analysis. I kind of like screen record and take pictures and kind of like try to piece it all together. Um, but YouTube have so many rugby games. They have so many coaches and teams that have their pages that are giving like full advice on like how to do things. And even if you spend like 15 minutes, once a week, before practice, just looking at how teams run defense, how they run plays, how they're set up. I think that could be very beneficial, and it can help. Like something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. If you're a gym junkie, you're not, and you're just listening to this, and you don't even play rugby, um, look at your favorite lifter. Look at like some of the points and how they're doing things, and you can do it that way too. A third thing is, I think the bread and butter for a lot of fitness goers is when it comes to strength and conditioning. That's probably like the most frustrating for all athletes because there's so many personal trainers and so many different strength and conditioning programs out there, um, that it can be overwhelming. But I can honestly say from what I've seen, people, um, if you stick to the same workout or program, it will work. The reason why I say that is because there's all the programs that have like a good focus on primary lifts and have the right balance of conditioning. They work as long as you're consistent and not doing different things every single day. And I feel like we hear this a lot from a lot of trainers, um, a lot of trainer influencers. But if you're not doing the same thing, I mean, yeah, if you're doing the same thing, you're more likely to reach your goal, your fitness goals. Even for people out there doing CrossFit, like if you go to a CrossFit gym, it's still a program. There's still something that is there to keep you consistent for you to see growth. Like it works. So when it comes to finding a S&C program, they're out there. Um, you just have to be consistent and eat the right things, and there you go. So when it and this is a nice little segue. So when you talk about eating things, you have to eat the right things, of course. And I know we don't have someone there to meal plan or have someone there to, write our meals down and like calories and macros, but those are things that we have to take initiative and do it for ourselves. Um, Diet is very important when it comes to sport. Um, and understanding like we don't have that at a professional level, but not gonna lie, like again, it's 2024. There's so many free calorie trackers out there for you to plug in your numbers for you to figure out how much you should be eating. It's when things start to get overcomplicated when you add in weight loss at the same time of bulking or things of that nature. Then that's probably when you need to then step in and get a nutritionist or a dietitian, but other than that, keep it simple, keep it consistent, keep it clean. So those are just like a few examples of how I had to become like realistic and um be like, oh, well, I got to start like figuring these things out on my own. But talking about these things, we have to also be planners. So since there is like no coach, no analysis, no so since there is no coach, no analysis or dietitian, we have to be our own, and that's okay. And like what can't women do? Like let's be honest. But to be smart and thorough, we have to make a plan. In order for us to be honest with ourselves about what our goals are as an athlete, we have to make a plan of action. We have to set realistic goals and create a roadmap, but that comes from creating realistic goals. When you're doing these things, there's 6 things I want you guys to do. There's 6 things I want you guys to do when you're planning all these things. You're planning for your training sessions, when you're planning like how to fit like the games and all of this stuff. Um, First thing is you need to figure out your why. Why are you playing this sport? Is it for your social reasons? Is it for competition? Is it for fitness? Or is it for, personal fulfillment? Whatever it is, write it down and try to answer that question of what is your why. Two, be flexible. Things won't always go as planned, and that's okay. So you need to learn how to adjust as needed. We do not control the universe controls us. If you're a big believer in that, then you will definitely understand the key to planning is being able to be flexible. Three, time management. Time management is key. Balancing training, work, family, and self care. I use calendars and different to do lists to stay organized. Um, I think those are very key, vital things for you to stay on track. Even if you need to like set an alarm for yourself, I have like so many alarms set on my phone to just keep me on track throughout the day. I even have an alarm on my phone to tell me when to go eat lunch. It is you in that moment that need to figure out if you're gonna snooze that alarm or turn it off or actually go do the thing that you need to do when it's time for you to do it. Four, I want you to acknowledge your progress. Celebrate your small wins and recognize your progress. The journey is just as important as the destination. And always, always, always be kind to yourself in the process. Five, this is something that's very hard for a lot of people to do, but you have to listen to your body. Rest when needed. Don't push through any injuries or exhaustion. You're just going to make it worse. The most sustainable progress is better than a temporary push that leads to burnout. And we suffered through a lot of burnout when we don't listen to our bodies, like when we need to sleep, when we probably don't need to go to practice, or if you do go to practice, you're sitting out and you're just there to watch. And that's okay if you need to do that too. Last but not least, consider your impact. So think about how your involvement in the sport that you're doing can affect others. So like your kids or your community. Um, this can provide a deeper motivation and, help you balance your passion with your realistic goals. This is probably the biggest thing I have struggled with, but and when I say struggle with, I feel like struggling with to find the words for, because there are so many times where, you know, me being a mom, I felt guilty and I felt like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. But the feeling of like, no, I am supposed to be doing this will overtake the negative feeling. And it wasn't until like I kept experiencing life in the way I have in rugby that I just have been able to explain it and understand my purpose in this sport and my involvement and how I can involve my kids and involve anybody who I love dear to me into my world of rugby. So consider and think about the people who are around you, and that helps the goals tremendously. So the unrealistic, the un, so the unrealistic expectation is that we might feel pressured to perform at professional levels without the same support systems, which can lead to the burnout and the disappointment if our goals aren't aligned with reality. But while the challenges in amateur sports are real, so are the opportunities. So by setting realistic goals and staying true to your passions, you can find fulfillment and success on your own terms. That's all I have to say for today. But I hope you enjoyed what I had to share, and I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. So until next time, keep playing, keep pushing, and keep loving the game.